Hi, my name is Jim Stengel, and I am a longtime and deep good friend with Dale Tesmond. And that is a reason I'm here with you today. We'll talk about friendship, I hope. But I've also been called over and over again the CMO's CMO.
Welcome to the Redirect Podcast, where we explore what comes after career. Real conversations about transitioning from the 9-to-5 grind to your next great adventure. Whether you're heading into retirement or simply redefining what purpose means, we're here to inspire, inform, and help you reimagine what's next. This isn't the end of the road. It's the start of something new. Adam and Dale, back in the studio. We have a great guest today. Wonderful conversation that's going to be coming on up, I'm sure. But here on the Redirect Podcast, we see ourselves as a brand. Okay?
You're wearing shirts.
We are wearing shirts.
Well, you need the hats and the vest. You need a vest.
It's a limited edition. There's only 3.
So guests don't get a free shirt.
Well, we're looking for sponsors. Okay. And if you want a sponsor, how do they reach us?
info@redirect-u.com.
Can I change the logo if I sponsor you?
We can give you an elbow.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, all right.
But so let's talk about, our whole concept here, as we know, is finding purpose in retirement, and there's all kinds of purposes. But I want to get back to you guys to get your opinion. Are we authentic to our brand thus far?
Do you want to start that one?
I do.
You go.
I think we are crushing our brand. Our brand being finding our purpose in retirement. How close are we hitting to being dead on target? And then, what supports that and what goes out from there. Having guests, topics, free-form conversations about what contributes to someone finding purpose in retirement and those agencies and services that support that. I think we are crushing our brand.
And I think because of the fact that we're doing what we're doing, I personally, my purpose is a work in progress that I keep coming back to, and it comes up with our guests and everything. But every time we have a guest and I sit back and I personally reflect on my purpose: serve God, serve family, serve others. And this podcast is, for me, the purpose of doing this was to really be able to have conversations that people don't have, and I think we're succeeding in doing that.
What about you, Curt?
Well, I tell you, purpose creates all kinds of things and really defines who you are, and it's visible. And purpose to me, this redirect that we're involved with, the Redirect You, Redirect Podcast, the Redirect Experience, is very purposeful. It's helping people. It's helping me. I've redirected myself by doing this. It's giving me something to do in my quote-unquote next 30, according to Dale, that is inspiring, that's fun, and that I enjoy. I don't see it as a burden. I see it as a mission. I see it as something to inspire. Don't have all the answers, but let's have a conversation and talk about it. And I think we're very authentic. I think the brand is gaining momentum. Mm-hmm. It's so nice to hear guests come on and say, I like that word redirect as opposed to retirement. And that's what we should be doing. And I like younger people saying, boy, you've given me an idea of how I can redirect myself. So thank you for everything that's happening. And we're hitting the target, I think.
Right off the bat, we hit a flanker when the 38-year-old called up and said, it's not retirement, it's identity. It's like, the scaffolding in life fell from underneath me and I needed to go find my identity. And it happens throughout life. It just becomes very, very poignant when you think about retirement.
It's those inflection points that when you get to a place where life is causing some kind of change, whether that be the ending of a traditional 9-to-5 career or divorce, health issues, it's that idea of choosing your way out, choosing your way forward. The logo represents that well, and redirecting yourself into where you want to go. Consciously choose where I want to go. And I think our content represents that really well.
So, Dale, we have a great guest here today that not only redirected himself professionally in his career, but he's all about purpose. So why don't you tell the audience about him?
Well,
Can't wait to hear this, Dale.
have you got an hour?
You're going to talk about Alaska first?
An hour?
That's right. You guys just got off of a boat together.
Hey,
Yeah.
well, I'm sure we're going to get into it. We're going to get into a lot of stuff. Probably I'm not going to want to get into, but Jim will bring up for us. But so today's friend of Redirect Podcast is Jim Stengel, who I have known for 40 years. I just did that math the other night and said, wow. And glad and proud of it, honestly. Jim is the president and CEO of the Jim Stengel Company and host of the very successful The CMO Podcast, author of Grow, How Ideals Power Growth and Profit in the World's Greatest Companies, and Unleashing the Innovators, a senior fellow and adjunct professor at the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University, and former global chief marketing officer of Procter & Gamble. Jim is also a former member of the board of directors of AOL and Motorola. In 2011, Jim was named to the first ever Fortune Executive Dream Team and has been named multiple times by Ad Age as the #1 power player in marketing and as a 2017 American Marketing Association Hall of Fame inductee. Jim has served as Dean of the Young Marketers Academy at the Cannes Lion International Festival of Creativity since 2011. I always wanted to go with Jim to Cannes and never quite got that in there, but
I can redirect you there,
I'm
Dale.
working it. In 2013, he pioneered the CMO Accelerator program at the Cannes Lion Festival and continues to serve as Dean. Jim is passionate about helping leaders grow. I kind of love that. It's a very simple statement. And is widely known for leading innovation and commitment to building purpose-inspired leadership capabilities. Jim, welcome to the Redirect
Thank
Podcast.
you, Dale. Very nice of you. I sound old.
You
I've been around, as Johnny Cash says.
You have accomplished a lot. You know, the podcast that you do, the CMO podcast, I love it because I've always loved storytelling, and you are always getting great stories from them. We thought today could be your story. We're going to flip it back on you a little bit and say what you went through from Procter & Gamble days, your kind of initial redirect story. For me, I still remember when you did that and you had graphs and charts and talking to some really smart people about your brand and what you were going to do, which is really a purpose thing. Love to hear your reflections on that.
Well, I think
kind of where it started.
I think my first redirect was, I went to college hoping to be a writer. And my dream was to be a writer for Sports Illustrated, which in the day was the
Premier.
the premier sports publication. I loved that magazine. I gobbled it up every week. And so I tried to get in, didn't get in, but I did get into Time Inc., which was the parent company, and I got into the books division, which was a very profitable, high-growth division back then. And so I moved to D.C. I had my starting salary was $7,600 annually.
Wow.
That
You're
much.
killing it.
Swimming in the money.
Crushing it. I couldn't afford a car, so I became a very good bicyclist. It's a good city for bicycling. But I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be on the creative side of business. So I stayed there 4 years, and I did very well. I got promoted several times. I loved the work. I loved the team. I loved the company. But I kind of figured out that the decisions were being made by the business side. And so I went, and it was very church state back then, editorial and business. So I went and I knocked on the door of some of the business people, and I said, I'm really interested in what you do. Could I do some side hustles with you, or can I help with some projects? Can you put me on a team? So they said, yeah, why don't you start writing some promotional copy for us and ad copy? So I started doing that, and I kind of dug the people, and then I said, well, I should probably I should go back to school and look at this. So I went to American University and did some night courses. And I said, I'm going to try the worst ones. I'm going to try accounting and financial management. So those were the first 2 night courses I took.
Why?
I was thinking, if I'm going to go in the business side, I'm going to need to know that stuff. And if it is just so dreadful that I just can't. I had a really great professor in accounting, by the way, and I thought, this is not all a science. There's a lot of art in accounting. So I ended up going back to business school full time, and that was, I think, my first, and that was a huge redirect. I went to Penn State. They gave me a beautiful scholarship. I did a work study program. I just had I had a blast. It was a fabulous 2 years. And my current wife, over 40 years, and Dale knows her very well, who I met at Penn State. She was a first-year MBA. I was a second-year MBA. So Penn State got me out of the editorial/creative into the business world, but I did lose my love for that. And a counselor at Penn State kind of figured out, hey, this guy's right for P&G. I didn't know who P&G was. And so he sent me to a presentation that P&G did on campus. I applied for an internship. He said, you're going to love it. It's part of, it's creativity, it's business, it's people, it's development, great ethics, great values. And so I didn't get an internship. And that was a tough blow because most of P&G's hires come out of internships. But I did get hired the next year full time. And so I was persistent on that. So Penn State led me to P&G, which changed my life, and it led me to my wife, which changed my life. So that was probably the biggest redirect of my life to this day, because if it weren't for that decision to knock on the door of the business people and learn more about it and go to Penn State, then I met the love of my life, and I met P&G. So
advancing through a wonderfully successful career at Procter & Gamble, opportunity comes up to start your own thing. You've done that run. Talk about the now non-P&G Jim Stengel. What happened after that? Because you were global you were the top marketing person, you know, and had a great run, and then all of a sudden you found yourself having the opportunity to do your own thing.
Well, it was the fall of 2007, I guess it was. This is really weird. We should, you think about destiny and purpose and serendipity, all those beautiful things. I was in my study at home, and a friend of mine called me from Austin, Texas. He owns an ad agency there and was eventually sold to Omnicom. And he goes, his name is Roy Spence. He said, you need to leave P&G. He said, you've done everything you need to do there. You've got ideas bigger than the company. You have a tremendous talent and personality, and you need to go out and share that with more people. So I want you to think about it. And he said, and if you leave, I'll set you up. I'll give you space in my office, move to Austin, Texas. It's a really great city. And so that happened. And within a few days of that, a very famous creative person in the ad industry called Lee Clow, close friends with Steve Jobs, did all that Apple work, had an agency called Chiat Day, which TBWA purchased. He also called me and said, you have such good ideas for this world. I think you should leave and write a book, and I have a name for you and will help you do it. And the name, by the way, was a beautiful name, but when I eventually went down the publishing site and I had an agent and a publisher, they said, no, we don't like the name. It's too shop talk. But the name was Packaged Good.
That is a clever name.
I like that.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a new story I've not heard.
Yeah. So between Lee Clow and Roy Spence, I thought, something's going on here. And so that got me thinking about what I wanted to do with my life. What's the next redirect? I didn't want any other job at P&G. I had the chief marketing officer, and we won't talk about that, I guess, in detail, but I never saw that job coming. I wasn't pursuing that. It happened. Mm-hmm. And I thought, do I really want to be staff and, part of central overhead, not working in a business? But I was open to it. I had a long chat with the CEO at the time, A.G. Lafley, and got very excited by it. And had a great run. But I realized it was a role that played to my strengths. And I wanted the next phase of my life to find something where 100% of my time I'm doing what I love. And we're never perfect, but I'm pretty close to that 100%. And that's now 16, 17 years later.
We had this episode on a couple weeks ago about having a mentor. Did you have a mentor? And if so, how did he play in your redirect?
Yeah, I think I had many, as we all do. I think I had many mentors in my life at different phases and stages of my life. I would put my wife in that camp as well. John Pepper, certainly when I was at P&G, said yes when I asked if he would be my mentor when I was very junior. I was like a brand man. He was like head of the U.S. at the time. He ended
That
up
was
being,
bold.
Yeah, it was bold. And by the way, he said yes, and he sent me a note this morning. We're going to an event with him in 2 weeks. We had lunch with him about 2 months ago out at his place. So it continues. And and he's a solid gold human being, one of the best, I think, who's ever walked this planet. Anyway, he was a tremendous inspiration at P&G. He said yes to be a mentor for me, but he's just a remarkable human being. But I think when I left P&G, and Dale, you're right about the charts and all that, I asked people that were close to me in the business world and personally to sort of be it's a concept we talk about a lot, personal board of directors, but I actually wanted them to help me create my redirect and my brand and my company. So we treated me like you would treat a P&G brand. You know, what's the purpose? What's the activity system? What are the points of difference? What are the points of parity? What's the tone of voice? What are your ambitions? What are your goals? So we did a couple workshops to knock that out, and that framework, I still have it, is still pretty close to what I'm doing. I mean, it has pivoted a bit, but the essence of it, and certainly the discipline about thinking, which goes back to Stephen Covey, if we want to talk about business books and important people. I mean, Stephen Covey, we were early adopters at P&G of Stephen Covey when he was doing the training himself, as I was part of those early cohorts. But his concept of certainly first things first and all the great things, but this concept of you have roles in your life and you should think about daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, what are those roles and what do you want to do within those roles? And I still mentally have that framework. It affects everything I do when I make my weekly list, my daily list. And we all have many roles. And if you're not intentional about it, you go through long periods where you ignore some of those roles, which is not good.
You're just living happenstantially at that point.
That's right.
It's interesting. I met.
Did you learn anything new there about
Curt,
my friend of 40 years?
Yes, the preamble to Proctor is what I to Penn State. I mean, that's
why I love Penn State so much for many reasons. But that's one.
I mean, that was a lot. And we came off a podcast recently. We were talking about our story, and going back and the things that happened way back. I mean, I could take you to the Alley Boys. I haven't asked you about the Alley Boys, which is a group of friends that Jim. Tell us who the Alley Boys are.
I was listening to your Keith Lawrence podcast, which you dropped in early August, and I knew him at P&G, and a great guy. I loved the show, and he had lots of data in that show, but one was, what's the average number of friends a man has?
Right.
It's like under 2, right?
Yeah. 1.7 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And he said you should have, what was it, 7?
7.
Yeah.
So what Dale's referring to is I have my closest friends in life are the kids I grew up with from like 4-year-old on.
No way.
And they
Sandlot kind of
Sandlot. I mean, there are girls in there, but it's really this pack of guys. I lived in a very densely populated neighborhood in an old city in Pennsylvania called Lancaster. It's about 60 miles from Philadelphia. But we lived basically in duplexes and townhouses, and there were dozens of kids in the alleys and in the parks and on the streets within a block of my house. And so we did everything together. From when we woke up to when we went to sleep, we were a pack. And we mostly went to Catholic school. There's one guy who didn't. So I played all sports with these guys. I went through all the stages of life. And then we all, got out of college and married, had kids, and separated a little bit. I mean, saw each other on holidays, that sort of thing. But we had this pivotal meeting about 25 years ago where we held a reunion in Europe. I was living in Geneva at the time. And I said, why don't you guys, and 2 of them were going to be in Europe, so why don't you come over and let's just have a big reunion. So they did, and we had the best time. And we just committed to each other that we're in a text chain all the time, all that normal stuff. But I said, every year, let us get together and have a retreat.
That's cool.
And we're we're pretty good on that for the last 25 years. So these, and they have gone different directions, very different lifestyles, very different people. But, we did a little boat cruise in Croatia last summer. Dale was on it. There were a few of them there. And there's unconditional love and understanding, and we can talk about anything. So, and there are, by the way, we talked about 7, there are 6 of them. So I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Good for
That's
you.
great.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, and throw in your wife. That's 7.
Yeah, right.
And
And family,
and
very
family,
close to my
and
brother and, brothers.
We're going to always vacation once a year together at least. And
right.
that's how
Yeah.
we always keep
Yeah, I
up.
took that same piece that Keith said, and you mentioned it earlier that you have a personal advisory board, but I think you were talking more on the business side.
Yeah, when I set up the company. Yeah, I talked to the guys about that.
Yeah.
And we, by the way, the subject of your show, we talk about all the time when we get together. Because some of them are retired, some of them are half retired, and I'm probably the last one that's pretty much fully working.
Still working.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
to piggyback off that, I took that statement from Keith, and I've created my own personal advisory board, but it's not associated with business.
Yeah,
It's getting 6 guys that I have right now that I've asked if they would be part, and this was a face-to-face thing, and then they said yes, and then I actually created a little description that they had to, help me in times when I needed it, especially when I'm slicing a golf ball. So there was a little humor thrown into
Yeah.
this thing, but it's great that I have these guys now that are part of my life. 2 of them are sitting at this table.
Now that you mention it, I can feel free to talk about it. That thing is ridiculous. That sheet, it's so ridiculous.
Thanks, AI.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One short anecdote. I've been put forward by my team for the ultimate award in marketing and advertising. It's called the AAF, the American Advertising Federation Hall of Fame. It's 75 years this year. Rigorous process to get in. Crazy. And you have people do it for you because it would be weird if you did it yourself. But it includes 20 letters of recommendation.
Wow.
And the criteria is you have to, prove through your career you've had a large impact well beyond the scope of your work. And you've had a large philanthropic impact. So Dale's Hyperquake helped me with this, which is a marketing agency that Dale has been a part of. They're my firm that helps me with my marketing as a company and also as a person. And they put together this recommendation, which was a major lift. But the opening letter of the 20 letters is a letter written by the Alley Boys, the 6 guys. And it totally brought me to tears. Wow. I can't even read it to this. I read it several times now. Every time I read it, I well up. And I sent it to a business colleague of mine, a CMO, and she writes me back right away and says, "Oh my God, I'm in tears." But that's, that's the power of everything you talked about with Keith. It's real.
Yeah.
But it's I think as we're, again, as our audience is in that time of life where they're pre-retirement, in retirement, been retired for a long time, how special it is to have those connections. But a purpose of mine is to keep identifying and building those things. You got to keep stepping out. You can't stop and just say, okay, this stuff's going to automatically happen. Mm-hmm. You got to make sure you get the Alley Boys together once a year. You got to make sure that you have identified and are working on your personal board of directors, Curt. Yeah. And it takes work. It's not like work stops and effort stops. To have those 7 people that you should have and at different ages, because you run with all 7 that you're all probably going to kick it about the same time. Yeah. You need to have those people with you.
And Jim, your book Grow, Dale has shared with me the book that you've done, especially I think it's chapter 3 that you really love. And your podcast that you have out now, the CMO podcast, is all about purpose and brand. All right. And we've talked about purpose here a lot. Talk to me, just give our listeners a little bit about the value of purpose in a company, and then we're going to flip it in another direction after that.
Yeah, wow. I did a show a few months ago titled "Is Purpose Dead?" And I'd recommend you listen to it and your listeners to listen to it. I got a couple thought leaders around the table to say, what's going on with brand purpose today in today's climate? And the reason I bring that up is it's a word and a concept that is highly misunderstood, at least in the business/marketing world. When I say purpose, it's about the yearning and the ambition to have a larger impact on the lives of your customers than simply the products and services you sell. So how can you make their life simpler, better, happier, more fulfilled, So, and that mentality, it can't be divorced from what you do. It has to be natural to your organization, to your heritage, to the things that you sell. But that question, how can we make a larger impact on the lives of the people we serve, is an evergreen question. And we don't ask that enough, and ask that enough of everyone in the organization. So purpose to me is about, seeking to make a deeper and higher and more meaningful impact on the people that you seek to delight and serve. So what happens, though, the reason the concept is misconstrued is people shorthand it to, it's social good, it's philanthropy, it's cause marketing, it's doing right by the world. Now, it may be some of that or all of that, but that's not where it starts. So what we like to, and this is in my book, I think it's kind of companies, most of them have a purpose. Sometimes it's implicit. Sometimes it's explicit. I recommend it. But you have to find or discover or rediscover who you are. You need to bring it to life in everything you do. And part of that might be social causes and philanthropy, but it's not everything. It's about uplifting what you do every day. And then you need to measure it and be accountable for it. And it's not a marketing idea. It's not a CMO idea. It's a company idea. And it doesn't work in companies if it's not believed in by everyone, especially the top team.
I think this would be a good time to take a quick break. If you're enjoying our show, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to comment. And if you like what you're hearing, leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback not only makes our day, but helps other listeners discover our content. Your support through listening, sharing, following, and reviewing means the world to us and helps our podcast grow. Thanks so much for being part of the Redirect family. So let's now get back to our conversation. I think it's a life idea, Jim. I'd layer in that, because we're talking about, when you started saying discover who you are, we talk a lot about legacy is just gifts brought forward. It's who you are, understanding your story, knowing what you brought, how you impacted others. When you go into retirement, there is a lot of, so who am I? And how am I going to help improve? How am I going to do what you just described
in a personal setting, in a
personal setting? And I was really, really wanted to focus in on that, because so many of the great insights that you came out with, and hey, find your purpose, company or brand. But how does that process, that rigorous process, apply to yourself as an individual? And we're going to get into your next 30. But you're bringing all this forward. And Adam, you and I were talking back and forth a little about company purpose and personal purpose. Was there a
It's got to be in harmony.
I think the idea of translating that, and we did some show prep, that big P purpose, banner on the wall kind of stuff, why this company exists, and this is our North Star. Let's always be true to this statement. It is intrinsic to who we are. Heritage, I love that word. That is some of the methodology you build out when companies are looking to define their purpose, so that they maintain their identity throughout their company's ongoing years. In the individual sense, the idea of making such a grand slogan for yourself or moniker that I am about this can be a little tough to nail down the big thing that you're about. However, and if I can draw the line to little p purpose, like give me reason to move forward today. What is it that I am pushing forward to accomplish, and my purpose for living today? I would call that little p purpose, and that's my own little moniker.
Yeah,
I'll throw that over to you to see if you can help me improve my way of thinking through that and making application from big P purpose of companies to maybe little p purpose of person.
No, I think it's a good construct. I think the process you go through in a company, as Dale just said, is similar to what you do as a human being. And I think the companies that really thrive are those that people who join the company because they believe in the purpose and they believe it aligns with their purpose. And when that's alive in a company, you've all seen it, you've all felt it, it's magic. And so, I mean, I had Lego on my show a few weeks back. I mean, the company is just so incredible, but people join that company because they believe in the company's purpose, which is so wonderful, and they love bringing it to life. So that's what leaders should do in companies, find the alignment of people's personal purpose and the company purpose, and then just good stuff goes on every day. When I left P&G, it was a redirection moment, a redefining moment. Who am I? I was so tied to the company's identity. I mean, I called on my last day at P&G, or when it was announced I was leaving. I stayed a few months after that to transition. But the day before it was announced, I called 40 people personally, one-on-one. So I spent hours on the phone. And I wanted them to hear from me, and I wanted to thank them for the relationship we had. And one of them was Dan Wyden, who founded a very famous agency called Wyden & Kennedy. And there was just silence. And he said, "You can't leave." He said, "You are P&G. You can't leave." It's like, ugh. I mean, that's good. And it's also, I don't know, maybe,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, and I, I had a counselor as I was thinking through my options when I left P&G, and she said, you have to be ready that when you call someone the Monday after you leave P&G that valued your calls last week, maybe will not answer.
I'll call him later.
Yeah.
Relationships.
So all that, but I have to say that didn't happen.
Interesting.
Wow, because of
That
who you are.
did not happen. So,
because of you.
yeah, I think it's because of relationships.
Because of the relationship.
Yeah.
And what I valued throughout my career. So that never happened, and that's wonderful. But that process of writing it down, I mean, I know you've talked about this with some of your guests in the show, but be intentional about it. These are hard questions that you guys talk about. How do I want to spend my time? What is my meaning for this stage of my life? Who do I want to be with? Once you kind of write those down, think about them, come back to them, and I'll have some new thinking.
Yeah.
A fresh look. I think it's important when we do our small P purpose.
So, Jim, you just rattled off the next 4 questions that I have on here for you.
We'll end early.
Thanks for joining the Redirect podcast.
No, I mean, it's sort of interesting in that the 4 of us at this table are go-getters. That retire is not even in our vocabulary. Mm-hmm. We're moving on to the next thing, and we're going to continue to move on to the next thing. Sitting back is just not in our DNA. You're probably going to be doing things all the way until you don't.
Yep.
So what have you thought about your next 30? Mm-hmm. Am I going to let go of some things? Because you've worked very hard for many years, and now you're in this place where you can be on a boat with Dale for a week in Alaska, and the engine seizes up.
It wasn't quite a week.
We were on
someplace to go.
We were on a boat,
a wooden boat, 100-year-old wooden boat. Yeah,
with
tight quarters.
4 out of 6 pistons working.
Yeah, and were people yelling stroke, and you were down below pulling?
Yeah, it came up.
But seriously.
Yeah, I think I will always be thinking about my time, and it will always be shifting in terms of what I focus on. But it will be intentional. Even when I started my company, I was sort of gung-ho to build a team, build a consulting practice, develop some IP, and I traveled and worked like crazy with my team. I don't do that now. What my purpose in life right now really is to uplift and inspire other people. And so now I'm doing much more leadership training executive coaching. And so people need friends now. And I just recently totally restaged my website, my social presence, working with Hyperquake, because I want to be people's, it sounds kind of corny, but their friend. You know, CMOs, it's a hard job. Everyone wants something from them. They're highly pitched and sought after because they have a lot of money in their budgets. They just, when they come on my show, I ask them interesting questions. We stop the show and they say, "Oh my God, that was like therapy. Can we keep talking?"
You also hear the stories of the people behind it. Like you had the gal on recently from Nespresso.
Yeah,
right?
it was great episode.
And she was talking about how she was talking with other CMOs about how to do the mom thing and the corporate level job. And you were so good in bringing things on out to have them talk about it, as well as talking about the business and the purpose of the business and things. So that was really cool.
Well, thank you for that. No, but I think I will always be shifting, but the core of it will, I mean, I'm about inspiration and impact and helping people develop to their full potential. And I think I do that in my friendships. I hope try to do it as a dad, and I try to do it with the people I work with in business. So I think that will remain constant, but I'm always thinking about where do I want to be spending my time, because I want to be fit. So that health is very important for me. I want to be with friends. I want to be with family, and I want to be helping people in a way that I can provide a unique contribution. So, and I stay pretty much
those
anchored in
buckets,
that.
They'll shift a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's
I
right.
mean,
That's
and
right.
as you said, as time goes on, and things are going to happen, but you got your eyes fixed on those buckets. I love what you mentioned about. It's in your mind. It's imprinted in your mind, those places where you need to address those things, because the minute you stop addressing one of them, it kind of goes away. And that's life, and that's reality. And the fact that you have a system and a structure and you're revisiting it, and it's a work in progress, but things will shift and change, and you're in a position to be able to make that happen, which is the blessing of, I think, being, in a redirected state.
Your podcast that's been out now, you said 6 years, right?
380 episodes. We're coming on 7 years.
Wow. Wow.
Nuts.
Now you have a group of people that are supporting your effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you used to do all the blocking and tackling, you got people doing blocking and tackling, and you're the personality as well as the inspiration. So what happens when Jim Stengel walks away, who's the voice of that? Will that ever happen?
It's a good question. Yes, I think it will happen. Of course it will happen. We're thinking right now about, the podcast has shifted in those 7 years, of course. But we're now thinking about, we have impacted hundreds of thousands of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at the downloads, millions. But the letters we get are unbelievable. And so we're now thinking, what do we do with that? What does that look like for the next 5 years? How can we make that deeper and bigger? So we're doing a lot of creative thinking, strategic thinking about the show. Gary Vaynerchuk was the one who had the idea for me many years ago and kind of talked me into it. He has been the producer. His company has been the producer of it ever since. It's now been sort of spun off into a new division called Vive. So I have more people working on it. And so we're, as an example, next week I'm going to Detroit live to sit down with a Ford CMO about the new Ready, Set, Forward campaign they just launched in front of a live audience. So fabulous, timely, interesting. We'll probably have lots of viewership. She's a remarkable human being. And then after that, I'm going to Minneapolis, and we're going to the Best Buy studios and doing sort of roundtables, one-on-ones, live audience with a lot of the prominent CMOs in Minneapolis, which is an amazing creative city. Mm-hmm. So we're doing more events, live things, building our community. So, we'll pivot. We're also thinking, should I bring on a co-host now and then? Or should there's, so we're going through all those questions, but we have a lot of momentum. We've worked with great sponsors Deloitte's been a sponsor of it since day one. And so we brainstorm with them. We think about their ideas. How can it work harder for them? So it's been a joy, and it's been a journey, and I still get a lot of energy from it. And so, but at some point, yes, there will be a big chapter 2 of the podcast, I hope.
We've had many conversations with other people and have read a lot of things that at time when you are questioning what you want to do, you sort of go back in time. All right? And where were your passions? So from what I heard from you today, you wanted to be a writer.
Yeah, I started in content.
All
right.
So will you, when the podcast is over, are there more books in the future that you could talk about your experiences and purpose and things like that takes the Jim Stengel 5.0 version to another level?
No, we do talk about, I mean, a book is, as you know, it's a heavy lift. And I think the podcast for me has reached way more people than a book would reach. And it is more current. It's more how people are learning now. We're moving my show to YouTube, and we're giving a lot of thought about that production, how it looks, how it shows up, how we build our audience even bigger. So, frankly, I have a few ideas. I've talked about them with my team. I mean, we have this amazing asset called 380 episodes.
Yeah,
you've got a lot.
Right. It's incredible.
Most wonderful marketing leaders in the world. We have used a lot of AI tools to pull things from it. So that could be the source of a leadership framework. So that's one concept we're thinking about. And also this whole Alley Boys thing, there might be something in there.
Yeah.
But I have to give it time. I enjoy writing. I've enjoyed both my books. I enjoy it a lot. But I like them because I met people. I learned about people. I synthesized ideas. It was a creative process. The podcast is all of that too.
Yeah. Another question that I don't know. Grandkids?
Three granddaughters.
Tell me about being a granddad.
It's the best. It's another redirect. We're recording this on a Friday, and I have had two of them all week with their parents staying with us, which is wonderful. But you just have to, it's going to be a different week.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff that we're doing like this takes second priority.
Yeah.
But you think about the impact that you as a granddad is going to have on your grandkids, right?
Yep.
You know, and how does that, what's that mental shift look like?
Well, it makes me even more aware of where I spend my energy and time, because they are a big focus on that, and I want to be there whenever they want to be with us and me. So they are sort of priority one now. So it does, as I said, I'm always evolving. I'm always shifting. I'm thinking about what, you know, I value my freedom massively. And so, and I protect that. Does it get a little bit out of whack now and then? It does for all of us, because shit happens. But freedom, actually, when I left P&G, my counselor told me, go have dinner or lunch with 5 to 7 people whose lifestyle you admire. And I took that advice, and it was powerful. It was just a fantastic, hey, whose lifestyle do I admire?
Right.
That's question one.
Yeah, it's its own journey.
Right.
Yeah.
And then go see them. And I was having dinner with Maurice Levy, who was the head of Publicis, which is a big conglomerate in advertising and media at the time. And I disclosed to him I was thinking about leaving P&G, and I wanted his reaction. And here's kind of, I was looking at options. Do I go to another company as CEO? Do I just retire? Do I be an academic? Do I have a portfolio life? And Maurice just looked at me and said, the greatest gift in life is freedom. And you have earned that. So you should choose a lifestyle which gives you maximum freedom to do what you love to do.
That sounds a lot like Redirection.
Yeah. Very wise man. Very wise.
Wow.
That's so cool.
That's very cool.
You know, it's interesting. When we're just talking about the people aspect, I mean, we talk about brands and purpose, and you lived your life in that, but it's really coming down to humans, right? And when I was doing story building for 30 years, the only thing that really separated one company from another were the leaders, the people that, and I love to ask them a question: why do you work here? Because at the end of the day, what makes you different than somebody else is why you're here. And identifying and finding that, going back to the person and reflecting on that, as I'm doing now in my redirection, it's like at the end of the day, it really is those relationships and the people, you know, that you are sharing life with. and that's what's going to make you different than everybody else, and that's your story, and you're continuing to build that and continuing to grow it, but it takes work to do that, and that's the bell I'm trying to ring with a lot of people. It's like, this is very, very intentional work. You've done it really well so far, Jim.
So far,
30
more.
So far, you're another 30. So I think,
guys, a question for you. You've now been doing the show how long?
Started in February of this year. We're right now, this will be, 39th episode.
So that's a lot.
That.
So
something like that.
Yeah. So what have each of you learned about yourself in doing the show?
For me, one of the things that I have valued over the years is just meeting new people, and the relationships, and being able to lean back on some of the relationships that I've had, and how important people are. And it's everybody says it, but it's so critical for me. What I've learned is how important that is going to continue to be, that I continue to reach out, develop relationships, but really lean into the relationships that I've had because of the value, like we've gotten to bring a lot of them on our podcast, like yourself, Jim. And, and for me, I'm learning new stuff about you. We've known each other for 40 years, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
I would say I've really enjoyed getting to sit down behind the mic with somebody and kind of explore, kind of their story. Why did they make that choice? How did they come to that mindset, and extract something from that to make application to help people? I think exploring someone's story, sometimes they just say great things. Sometimes you have to, cultivate that conversation so that you can uncover some really good content that helps people. And I didn't realize how much I enjoyed that aspect of getting behind the microphone and being almost an archaeologist for content.
Curt, how about yourself?
Well, I've learned a lot of skills that I didn't even think I was going to do, right? August represented our 1-year anniversary of concept of this. Just us getting together, and we were having conversations, and then this guy over here, Dale, says, "Say it, Dale."
This is a podcast.
There it is. There's the quote that'll go down in infamy.
Like live from
This
New York.
is a podcast. We were sitting on my back deck, and we were just having a very spirited conversation.
So from that, we started talking about where do we record, social media, how do I do this, how do I do that, all these things that was educationally new for me. Another thing was being able to apply all of the things that have been a part of my life that I'm now doing something that I'm using bits and pieces of. And again, one of the biggest compliments my wife could have ever given me is saying, it's so fun to see you in a place of doing something that you really are using everything that you're about. And I'm like, yeah, that's really cool too. And then the opportunity similar to Adam and Dale, I have learned so much from the people that sit behind the mic and sit to my right, and it's changing my life. I am continuing to grow. And I love this experience. And when everybody asks me, how's the podcast going? My first answer, with a long pause afterwards, it's fun.
Yeah.
How about you?
Same with me. It's fun. Yeah. It's fun. I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And it for all those things, and I learn about people. It makes me think. I open up my world to someone from a different company, culture, country, often business. So, and as you do, I do research before each show, and I always go in there thinking about what are 2 or 3 things that they have a unique voice on. And it could be something in their personal life, if they want to go there, a business issue they've been wrestling with. I mean, in the Nespresso episode, how did you build an $8 billion business inside a $100 billion company? That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how many people have done that?
Quickly.
Yeah. So I wanted her to go there, and she did, and it was full of lessons. So it's so I always think about with every person there are 2 or 3 things that are very special and unique to them, and to have them go there, they respect it because you thought about them, you personalized it, and it often leads to very rich spaces because they're talking about something that's special to them.
And the mind goes, in our case, as we collect more content, you take those 2 or 3 things from all those
Absolutely.
people, go into AI, you're going to create something, and it may not be a book. It's going to be some new form of medium that everybody's going to use. And the value of that, Jim, is going to be just massive. That's exciting. And I think about what we do, and I get excited, again, of just about where we can go at our very young state, with what we've got.
Yeah, and when we were talking about having you here, we made the comment to say, well, he's always behind the mic asking questions of others, and now we want to ask questions of him so that maybe his people that are in his circle can get to know a little bit more about Jim. And I thank you for coming on today to share with us, first of all, all the things that you're involved with and the fun that you're having, but also being receptive to us, asking questions that were, this is what I've done, but also, where am I going and what am I thinking about? Thank you for being a part of our conversation.
I love your show,
today.
by the way. I listened to it before I came on, of course. And it's a great show.
So
I've said to a number of people, I'm going on the show called Redirect. I said it's sort of about retirement, but not about the financial stuff or the health stuff. It's about the other stuff. It's like, whoa, that's unusual.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Thank you very
Good
much for
you.
that, because that's the whole thing. So thank you for being a part of our family now. And
I get a shirt, guys.
You get it.
We'll get
You're
you
going to
one.
get a shirt.
Somebody don't take it off, please.
If somebody wants to reach out to you for whatever reason, something comes up in this podcast.
LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, just
go to jimstengel.com.
Right. Just go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn's amazing. I'm spending a lot. And we all are a lot more time there. So LinkedIn's the best way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much
thank
for
you
coming.
guys. This is uplifting. Great thing to do on a Friday afternoon.
And thanks for joining us on the Redirect Podcast. A big thanks to the University of Cincinnati's 1819 Innovation Hub for allowing us to use the eSports recording studio to record today's podcast. Catch up on all the Redirect Podcast episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To begin your Redirect journey, head over to redirect-u.com. Want to connect with the Redirect team? Feel free to email us at info@redirect-u.com. Remember, there's purpose in your life, so find it and go do something about it.